From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
Welcome back, folks. We bring in the great Kellyanne Conway, former Trump senior counselor and campaign manager in the Trump-Pence campaign in 2016. And her book is Here's the Deal, a memoir. And she's one of my dearest friends, and she's the smartest political person I know. Thanks, Kellyanne, for doing this. We appreciate it, kiddo. And let me just start with this. So I'm now seeing, after the liberal media gets through bashing Joe Biden and the New York Times wants him to resign and stuff, now I see today they're basically arguing, well, wait a minute, Trump didn't win the debate. It was just that Biden lost it. Trump didn't win the debate. I don't happen to agree with that. And we had a TV show last night talking about it in radio this morning. What do you think? Trump didn't win the debate? Really?
Larry, thanks for having me. Option C, both of the above. Joe Biden lost the debate and Donald Trump won the debate.
Right.
And those are two different things. And they're trying to do this. You know, the entire prism through the mainstream media and their pals, their acolytes and sycophants in the Biden orbit has been they look at everything through the prism of Donald Trump. Now they want us to look at everything through the prism of Joe Biden, which many of us have been doing for a while. Does he deserve 4 more years? Of course not. And they're saying, well, you know, the issue is really Biden. He had a bad night. Everybody has a bad debate performance. But Trump lied, and Trump's not up to the job, and Trump reminded independents and swing voters why they don't like him in the first place. None of that is true, Larry. It's not true in the snap polls. It's not true in what had been the best polling week for Donald Trump with the media polls to date. He has his highest favorability rating in Gallup. Joe Biden has his lowest going into that debate. Donald Trump is beating him among likely voters, not the, quote, low information voters that the media likes to castigate and denigrate and ridicule. Among likely voters, he's beating him for the first time in Quinnipiac and in the New York Times polls. So they know they've got trouble, but guess what? Too little, too late. Many of us have been saying for years that the difference in this election is, will you believe what they say to you or what you see with your own 2 eyes? And all of those who have been gaslighting and lying to us about behind the scenes, Joe Biden is a triathlete. He's a trapeze artist. You should see him doing cartwheels. It's just not true. Stop lying to us. And Larry, may I say one more thing? They couldn't replace him with anybody who's any better. Maybe someone who can string a sentence together, clearly not as Vice President Kamala, but maybe somebody who can string a sentence together, maybe somebody who's a better debater. But that person's going to be a socialist. That person's not going to be a free market, growthier capitalist. That person's not going to say, let's do a dereg agenda. Let's keep the Trump tax cuts going. They're not going to say, let's get Iran on the run again. Let's secure the border. So they're all the same, just maybe different calibers of debate performance. And the New York Times, Larry, I want your listeners to pull up a ridiculous puff piece by someone named Katie Rogers the week before the debate. It had nothing negative in it at all about Joe Biden. It talked about how the 30 people puffing and stuffing, juicing and goosing him, filling his head with these canned lines that didn't work out anyway, how they're eating lasagna. And there's great camaraderie at Camp David. Complete puff piece. And then the New York Times turns around and says, Joe must go.
Come on. God. I'm going to find that piece. I missed that one. I'm not a regular daily reader of the New York Times, but I'll go and find that piece. That's wonderful. Kellyanne, though, let's go back. You're right. Biden lost, Trump won. Now, from the debate, from Mr. Trump's standpoint, you have a great ear for this music. What stood out in terms of Trump won the debate? What stood out in your mind for his victory in the debate? What points?
Several things. He was very good about defending himself against these ridiculous shop-worn sound bites and left-wing tropes about suckers and losers at the cemetery. He's right. 19 people have debunked that. I've never heard him say anything even close to that. As somebody who had veterans and military in her portfolio and traveled with him, et cetera, including to D-Day for the 75th anniversary and the state visit in UK. He defended himself. He attacked. I think he was very good, basically making Joe Biden eat and own what Biden had done at the scene of the crime. The last presidential debate, where they were together, where he lied about the 51 so-called national intelligence officers, where he lied about talking with his son about business deals, where he lied to the American people from that debate stage, Larry, about the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop. So I thought Trump's strongest points were when he was talking policy. We had the best economy, particularly pre-COVID, and then he didn't shy away from the way he handled COVID. Operation Warp Speed saved millions of lives in this country and across the world, and he shouldn't shy away from that. It's the vaccine mandates that bother people, not the availability of the vaccine, and the fact that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris themselves were 2 of 12 million Americans who got that vaccine while Donald Trump was still president. I liked when he talked about growth. I liked when he talked about putting Iran on defense. I liked when he talked about that we're at 2 new wars, the porous border, the bad economy, the price of everything is up. So when Donald Trump talks policy, he's winning. And look, he defended himself without seeming overly defensive. And my favorite part was Donald Trump actually just hanging back and letting Joe Biden speak. We got to see Joe Biden in full, not these ridiculous, quote, deep fakes, deep video fakes. We got him raw and uncut. Everybody got to see it. The only thing I can't believe is that everybody is clutching their pearls and thinks that that's the first time Joe Biden has ever been that way. The senior Democrats, the mainstream media, Biden's own family, Larry, if they really cared about this country, they would have him step aside 18 months ago, and he would have taken Kamala with him. If Donald Trump is this true existential threat to democracy, why do you insist on running against him, a guy who's losing to him in the national media polls and in every swing state, and biting into core Democratic constituencies, union households, suburban men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and young people? President Trump is doing better among them than any Republican presidential candidate ever has, and he doesn't need to win 50% of any of the groups I just said to you to become the next president.
You know, he stayed with the idea that success is the best revenge.
Yes.
The word retribution came up. He said, no, success is my answer to that. And he stayed with the bread and butter. The bread and butter issues, inflation, economy, border. And he returned to them constantly, and especially the border. The border, the crime, the lack of public safety. He just kept hammering away. I mean, that was a very good debate strategy. Just keep staying with your meat and potatoes, because Biden was tongue-tied or brain-tied or whatever, but he couldn't answer him. He just didn't have an answer because in the real world he had no answer. So I thought that was brilliant. In the real world, he had no answer. It was a great strategy. And you know how Donald Trump prepared for that debate? We all see it. It's right in front of us. He does these rallies. He goes on television and radio interviews. He does the podcast. He's constantly speaking to the American people, Larry. That's the best way to prepare, is to be the insurgent incumbent. You've got that 4-year record as president that you can explain to people, remind them why they miss your record and you, and overlay it with this sort of this hunger, this swagger, this front-facing, public-facing Donald Trump, where he's not getting rest and rehearsal for 7 days. He's out there. And by the way, Hillary Clinton did the same. She committed the same error in 2016. If you go back, she took 5 days off. And Trump occasionally, before the debate, and Trump occasionally would say, I think they're pumping her with oxygen. I think Hillary's resting. But guess where he would joke about it? In TV interviews, on radio, and in his rallies. She left the bully pulpit to us all for ourselves. And there's Trump with all the media attention, taking the case directly to the people. That's what presidents are supposed to do. In 2024, Larry, when we suffer from information overload in so many ways, many Americans feel like they suffer from information underload when it comes to our presidential candidates. And there is Donald Trump. The way he prepared was fundamentally different. He's just out there talking to folks. I want to say one more thing. Abortion. This cost some seats in 2022 because our candidates had marbles in their mouths. They don't know how to talk about it. Donald Trump basically neutralized that on the debate stage. He went back to what he did against Hillary, and Joe Biden had no defense whatsoever. Yes, I made this point. Kellyanne, I made this point on TV last night and this morning. The partial birth abortion, which nobody wants, he nailed Hillary with it, and he nailed Biden with it. You are so right. And that's what they want. That's what Democrats want. Nobody in the country wants it. No, it's an extremist. God, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I'm so excited. I love talking to you.
But by the way, Donald Trump gave a roadmap to people who better pay attention and sharpen up. Senate candidates, I'm talking to you. I'm looking at you. They are all. I know these people. Some of them personally. I like them all. I hope they all win. But right now, they're not winning, Larry. They're way behind Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, Montana. I'm looking at you, folks. And it's because I care. I want them to win. But waiting on Donald Trump just to tether himself to you and pull you over the finish line is unfair. Go get your own dog sled. Go get your own entry fee in the Iditarod. You got to do what Donald Trump does. You got to get out there and campaign and connect with the people. I'm concerned about this, Larry, because I want 55, 56 Senate seats, not 51, 52, especially if you think of the gutting the Senate for the VP slot and or the cabinet. Folks, sharpen up. He gave every Republican candidate a roadmap. How to talk about abortion and climate and January 6th and democracy and Trump and convicted felon and all this. And then, of course, on the positive side, led to the most important stuff, growth and the economy and tax cuts and dereg and energy independence and the border.
We need to pick up 25, 35, 40 House seats. Yes. We need that.
Where are they, Larry? Right now, we're not, babe. We're not.
I know. Mike Johnson, who's a nice fellow, he's out there telling about the 25th Amendment. That's all nonsense. You're right. Trump gave a policy message roadmap. You're so right. Guy, I love it. Kellyanne, I just love it. I got to go. You're terrific. I love everything. I'm going to see you on Tuesday. Folks, the great Kellyanne Conway. By the way, her book, Here's the Deal, one click. Here's the Deal, a memoir. It's a great book. All right, take a quick break.
Thank you, Larry.
Is Biden the national security risk? We're going to talk to Ambassador Robert O'Brien.
Whoa. Larry Kudlow.